Hello, hi, welcome back to my channel. It's been a long time. The last time I filmed was in January, and what better way than to come back with what is on my fall TBR of 2025. Ever since I started reading, I have been making a fall TBR list. I have not made any other seasonal TBR lists, only fall. I always associate the fall cozy vibes with reading and tea or a latte and just snuggling up with a cozy blanket. So that's why I always make a fall TBR. This year is going to be the year where I'm going to finish at least half of what is on my fall TBR, and a lot of these books are very achievable because these are the books that I've always wanted to read, and some of them were carried forward from my 2024 fall TBR. I am determined. This is going to be a realistic fall TBR. I really hope I can read all these, so that's why I am setting a little goal for myself that I will read at least half. So I have 10 books here, and without further ado, let's just jump right into what is on my fall TBR. I'm going to start with series and end off with standalones. So the first series that I want to complete on my fall TBR list is these two books. We have The Ballads of Songbirds and Snakes and Sunrise on the Reaping by Suzanne Collins. I am currently in the middle of rereading, or quote unquote rereading, The Hunger Games. So I am currently on Mockingjay. I did reread The Hunger Games. That was my first reread of ever. My experience with rereading a book, I am so glad that The Hunger Games was the book that led me to starting my rereads of, I guess, my favorite books. Usually whenever I finish a book, I don't really reread them because I already know what's going to happen. So I don't see any enjoyment in rereading a book. That's just what I thought it would be like. But ever since rereading The Hunger Games, I found that I still enjoyed the book. My rating for it in the past and now is the same. I'm in the middle of rereading the Hunger Games series, rereading because I only read the first book, and I am guilty of not reading the second and third only because I watched the movie first. By that point, I didn't really want to read the books. Now I'm on Mockingjay, and to be honest, I don't even remember what happened in the movie. So I am oh, I have it here. So I am excited to read this, and I mean, as I am reading the book, I am getting some recollection of what happened in the movie, but I mean, I still don't remember what happened. I vividly remember one event in this book, and I mean, I think everybody knows it. So yeah, whenever I see Mockingjay, I associate it with that one particular event. I am loving the series so far. I am enjoying each book, and I am so excited to read the next two. So before I start with saying what these ones are about, I'm not gonna say too much about it because again, I do want to go in blind, and I just have like a one sentence synopsis of these two, I guess. And before I jump into that, I do want to mention what The Hunger Games is about. So The Hunger Games is a competition held in Panem, which is the world that we are currently reading. In Panem, there are 12 districts, and during the Hunger Games, it's an annual competition where 2 tributes from each of the 12 districts are selected to participate in this competition, which is essentially a fight to the death. Katniss Everdeen is our main female character in this novel, and of the 2 tributes from the district, there's going to be 1 male, 1 female, and Katniss Everdeen is the female that's representing District 12 in the 74th Hunger Games. Katniss Everdeen was not selected to partake in this competition. She volunteered herself as tribute on behalf of her little sister, who was selected by random, like by a lottery. So The Hunger Games is a YA dystopian novel, and so that's essentially what The Hunger Games is about. The Ballads of Songbirds and Snakes is about President Snow, who is actually I believe, maybe I am wrong, but he is the game maker of The Hunger Games. It's what started The Hunger Games. He was the one that started The Hunger Games. Or maybe it started before then. Anyway, I watched the movie, but I don't really remember what really happened in The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. I do remember that he was a mentor, maybe. Again, this is President Snow's story, and A Sunrise on the Reaping is Haymitch's story. Now, Haymitch is Katniss Everdeen's mentor, and he was the tribute for the 50th Hunger Games. And the 50th Hunger Games had not only 12 tributes, is that right? In the 50th Hunger Games, he was the winner. I mean, in the 50th Hunger Games, I mean, that makes sense, right? That's no spoiler, right? The 50th Hunger Games was different than other Hunger Games in the sense that not only there were 24 tributes in the Hunger Games arena, but there were 48 at this time, and that sounds terrifying. We do get glimpses of Haymitch's Hunger Games during his time in the Hunger Games, the first novel. We see maybe a little bit of how the games went, but I am so excited about his backstory. That is Sunrise on the Reaping. That is The Ballads of Songbirds and Snakes. These two are definitely going to be read in my fall TBR. The next series that I want to finish, and this was carried over from my 2024 fall TBR, is a duology. And it is the Shepherd Kings duology. And it is One Dark Window and Two Twisted Crowns by Rachel Gillig. I got this, is this from, I think I got this one from Book Outlet, maybe. I heard many great reviews on this book, actually in the series, and I heard this one was better. This was a recent buy, and now I feel like this is the time to read this book. So I got this from Book Outlet, I think last year, or maybe beginning of this year, something along the lines of that. This is a sign that I should read this book this fall. I'll be honest, I do want to go into this series blind, so I have no idea what this is about, except that it is a fantasy romance, I believe, and that it has gothic elements in it. I know there's, I think, a darkness that the main female character has, and I think their magic system has to do with tarot cards, but I could be completely wrong. I heard that how Rachel Gillig writes Yearning is so good, so I am really excited about reading this duology. And to be honest, since it's a duology, I find that it's not a big commitment when it comes to series, so this is very doable. I think this is very doable to read this fall. I also heard that it's pretty addicting, and I think it's also very fast-paced, so that will really help with finishing this. The reason why I am determined to read this is because I find that whenever I do want to pick this up, it's not the right season. I'm a huge mood reader, so knowing that this has gothic elements into it and that it has some spooky elements in it, I heard the best time to read this was in October. I'm planning on reading One Dark Window maybe late September if possible, and read Two Twisted Crowns in October. This is one of the series that I do want to go in blind. The last series that I want to get to this fall, it sounds like a lot of series, and it sounds like it's not really possible, especially with my reading pace this year. Out of the 25, that's my reading goal of the year. I've only read 21 books, so I am reading at a slower pace, but I am determined. I am determined to read these books by November 30th. The final series that I am excited to read in the fall time is the Caraval series. And look how beautiful these books are. I'm gonna show Caraval first, but look how beautiful this book is. It's gorgeous. And I think, oh my gosh. Yeah. Oh my gosh, I forgot how this looks. Okay, so look. I mean, this is so cute. First of all, there's a little snowflake on the bottom right of the book. We have a red spray edge. And the best part, look at the artwork of these holiday special editions. It is absolutely, wait, is these two the same? It's absolutely gorgeous. It's the same as the front anyway. This is my only special edition on my bookshelves. The reason why I got it was because I found this on Book Outlet, and it was such a steal. I had to get it, and especially since I know that I loved Caraval, I had to get the whole series. It was like a no-brainer for me. So that is the Caraval series. As I mentioned, I have already read Caraval, I think back in May or March or April. Actually, I don't even remember when I read this, but I read this year, earlier this year, and I ate this up. It was so good. For Caraval, either people really love it or people not so much love it. It's not their cup of tea. Compared to the Once Upon a Broken Heart, also by Stephanie Garber. I think most people enjoy Once Upon a Broken Heart trilogy over the Caraval series, only because, actually I don't know why. Pretty much a lot of people do enjoy the Once Upon a Broken Heart. And originally I have bought the Once Upon a Broken Heart trilogy, which is on my bookshelves right here. But if I want the full experience of Once Upon a Broken Heart, it's best to read the Caraval trilogy. However, you don't need to read Once Upon a Broken Heart before reading Caraval if you do not plan on reading the Caraval series, because I believe Once Upon a Broken Heart does have some spoilers of Caraval. I wanted the full experience, so that's why I started reading Caraval. And I heard mixed reviews on it. I heard that a lot of people, it's not their cup of tea, but it's definitely my cup of tea. This is a YA, maybe not a romantasy, maybe a fantasy romance. If I can recall what happened in Caraval, we follow two sisters, Scarlett and Donatella, or Tella, and they actually live on a remote island with a toxic father. And Caraval, this is like a carnival circus that happens, I don't know why my brain's telling me to say every 7 years. It could be every 7 years. So it's at a different location each time. Scarlett and Tella get an invitation to attend the Caraval Games by the Grandmaster Legend. And as they embark on their journey to the island where Caraval is being held, Scarlett arrives there later than her sister. And when Scarlett arrives on the island, she's looking for her sister, but cannot seem to find her on this island. And it turns out that this year's Caraval Games has to do with finding her sister. Whoever finds her first gets a reward. There is a big disclaimer with the games, and that is, don't believe everything that you see. That was a horrible explanation of this book. This was such a magical and whimsical book to listen to and to read. In this fall's TBR, I do want to read the next two in the series, which is a Legendary and Finale. And then they do have a novella, and it's called Spectacular. Okay, I did spoil myself with the artwork. I'm just gonna show little bits of it without hopefully spoiling anything. But look at this, like, it's gorgeous. Like, there's just artwork sprinkled around everywhere. Oh my gosh, there's a gingerbread. Oh, I'm so excited to read this, and I'm so happy to have picked up the holiday special editions. Spectacular seems like it's going to be a very fun and entertaining read, not even just reading the words, but just the artwork itself. So that is the Caraval series. Not really, I don't even know if I should call it a trilogy anymore, because now they came out with Spectacular. So that was the end of all the series that I want to get to this fall. And now we're gonna get to the standalones. The standalones are there to really be a transition or just a buffer between each of the series. So it's just there to really be like a reliever for some of these pretty dark and heavy reads. It's a good palate cleanser. So the first standalone I want to get to this fall is Remarkably Bright Creatures by Shelby Van Pelt. I did not want to get the sprayed edges version, but this was the only one they had. So this is Remarkably Bright Creatures. Again, I kind of want to go into this blind, so I have no idea what it's about. I believe it's a literary fiction, and I heard that this was such a heartfelt read, and it's such a good reflective read, I would say. I have actually heard mixed reviews of this novel, online at least. Within my inner circle, the two that recommended me this book highly recommended it, first of all, and secondly, it was one of their top reads. I had to pick it up. So I did hear this when it first came out. I think it was in 2021, or when it first became popular, maybe 2021, 2022. But I was hesitant to pick it up because at the time I don't think I was into cozy reads. And also, this is actually my first literary fiction. This would be a really great start to dip my toes into something new. So I'm really excited about that. I think it's about an octopus. I mean, there's an octopus in the front of the cover. We'll keep it at that. But this is going to be on my fall TBR and a good palate cleanser with all the fantasy that I am reading. The next standalone that I want to get to, and this was a recent addition to my fall TBR. Originally, this book was not supposed to be in it. Since my hold for this book came in, it was added to my fall TBR. And that is Great Big Beautiful Life by Emily Henry. I'm so excited to read this book. I will be completely honest, I am not a huge Emily Henry fan. I think I lie within the unpopular opinion that she is not my favorite author. I'll be honest, she is not an autobi author for me, but pretty much I have read all of Emily Henry's book through the library. I am most excited about this book because the synopsis sounds very interesting. I was going to go into this blind, but I thought I've only gave a synopsis to 2 series and everything else was going to be going in blind, which is what I normally do anyway. But for the sake of the video, I should read what this is about and try to explain with my limited knowledge about this book. Reading this is going to be a Grumpy Sunshine romance. Also, it is similar to Beach Read in the sense that they have a competition. Our female main character and our male main character are going to be in competition with each other. It's to write the biography of a woman no one has seen in years, or at least to meet with the octogenarian who claims to be the Margaret Ives. Tragic heiress, former tabloid princess, and daughter of one of the most storied and scandalous families of the 20th century. So a famous woman. Now, after reading this, it's kind of giving The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo by Taylor Jenkins Reid, which I haven't read, but I have read the back of it, and it's also following a famous actress at the time, back in the 70s, 80s, I'm not quite sure. Pretty much she's ready to tell her story to a journalist, so we are following 2 journalists here as well. It seems like a romance is about to bloom. Margaret is only giving our female main character Alice and our main male character Hayden pieces of her story, and they are not to communicate with one another about what they got from Margaret. Of course, they're getting different information, but they can't swap the information that Margaret gives them because they signed an NDA. Now, reading this little blurb, I don't even know if I translated that well, or if you got that synopsis at all. First note that I got from this is that Emily Henry is kind of bringing back Beach Read in a sense of having a competition between our female main character and male main character in the same industry. And secondly, it's giving a bit of the Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo vibes, in my opinion, where we are following this famous woman and she's willing to tell her story of why she's been off the grid. Both parts really intrigues me, so I'm really excited to read this, and I am planning on reading this after reading Mockingjay. I heard mixed reviews again with this book, and a lot of people I don't think a lot of people enjoyed this book as much as her other books. I don't know, this one seems to be getting my attention more, so it's really interesting to me. And I tend to be on the unpopular opinions of Emily Henry books. One of my favorite reads might have to be Funny Story, which is her not most recent release, but her second most recent release. I really enjoyed Funny Story, and I think that might have climbed up to my top Emily Henry book. I should do a re-ranking of Emily Henry books, maybe after rereading Beach Read, because I do remember all the other books, but I know for Beach Read I was definitely rushing to finish that book. So that's Great Big Beautiful Life with a huge tangent to Beach Read. The last book on my fall TBR, I don't have a physical copy with me. I already returned it to the library, but seeing that the holds are not that high, I think I can get it by October because that's when I do plan to read it, is 1,000 Acres by Jane Smiley. This is a book, again, I do want to go into this blind, so no synopsis here. This is a book that was recommended to me by my coworker because she's a big reader. This is one of her favorite books. I'm afraid that it might be too big brain for me, this book. And she did say that it's not everyone's cup of tea because nothing really happens in the book. I'm kind of scared to go into this book, but at the same time, I do want to read one of her favorite books. And it seems that we have very different tastes in our reading. And I do want to expand my reading a bit more outside of fantasy and romance. She did recommend me a fantasy book, Bridge Kingdom. Was it called The Bridge Kingdom? She did recommend me a very good fantasy series, so that is also on my TBR. She did have a disclaimer saying that if it does not resonate with me, I can totally DNF it. So that makes me even more scared. Now I'm kind of worried, what am I getting myself into? If she's giving me all these disclaimers, like for example, the DNFing the book if it's not resonating with me, nothing really happens in the book, and finally it's not everyone's cup of tea. I'm scared. But regardless, it's on my fall TBR. And again, going to be a palette cleanser. Since nothing's really happening in the book, I think it'd be really good for all the fantasy books that I am reading, and especially with the high stakes. I'm assuming The Hunger Games is going to be high stakes, and it's going to be a heavy read. And I also think the Shepherd King duology, so One Dark Window and Two Twisted Crowns, is going to be a heavy read, not even like high stakes. Having a palette cleanser like 1,000 Acres by Jane Smiley to really change it up a bit would be great. I want to say it's literary fiction. Maybe it's a classic. The more I think about it, the more I'm itching to pick it up. Anyways, those are all the books that are on my fall TBR of 2025. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you guys enjoyed it. And until next time, hopefully sooner rather than later. Bye.